Hello. Good morning. Good morning, one and all. I am getting better and better at waiting till the last minute to write these things. My skills are unparalleled. I was like that in high school too. Did homework the class before it was due. Still make an A on it. What are you? Nobody said I was making A's on the podcast. Oh crap. Oh crap. We're moving the camera. We moved the camera. Is there like an undo button? Because I know the camera's like permanently out of place now. That looks fine. That looks fine. I want to move the chat, not on my OBS, so it's a little bit bigger. There we go. Alright, what are you guys crying about now? Straight out of episode 12? Wait, am I wearing the same exact outfit in episode 12? Wait. I mean, I know I got a lot of repeat outfits. I try not to, but I only got so many clothes. Brush, if I'm wearing the same outfit in episode 12, I'm gonna be... Nope! I wore the I Wish Carrot Was Here shirt for episode 12, and no hat. And I also didn't have a beard then. You suck. You gotta work on your Popcast lore, Brush. Also, where have you been, dude? Like, I haven't heard you commentate anything in a while. In a hot minute. Brush may also make an appearance on March the 4th. When is that the first date of FNF? I saw that it got announced yesterday. Can I gamble money on that? Can I like do a parlay right now? Because I'm willing to bet my mortgage on Macazaria going completely undefeated in that tournament. I don't think they'll drop a single game. Can I put money on that? What are the Vegas odds? Give me that. Macazaria 1, Squid Killers 2, Cube 3. That's your top 3 right there, in that exact order. But all those other teams, I believe, are LSL kind of teams. It'll be good to see them play against each other. I was going to talk about it a little bit today, but I'm not doing a weekly recap. I don't have enough time. We are loaded today. Might look on SAC this weekend. Let me try to catch up on. Yeah, the serious versus deep fried octolings thing. Now, a lot of people brought that up, and it's a fair comparison. However, there is a huge major difference between the deep fried octoling situation and the shiver me situation from yesterday. We'll talk on that. We'll hit on that in a second. Pop gun, I have been requested by Pixel to let you know to set. Well, I filled my water up to the brim. Brush is in the car. Inkvader Shads was here before we even went live. I saw that whoa in chat. I don't think you should be allowed to type in people's chats if they're not live. Hasn't there been like situations of people typing derogatory things when the person's not live? And Twitch gets them in trouble for that. Why can you type in people's chats when they're not there to moderate it? It doesn't make any sense. Alright. Let's get to work. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're trying not to leak the Wii Sports test fire bowling scenario, celebrating your favorite president in honor of President's Day, crafting new DC rules for the suggestion channel, whatever it is that you're doing right now. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Happy President's Day for those of us that live in a country that have presidents and celebrate it, I guess. I don't know. I don't get the point of President's Day. Am I supposed to sit here and reflect on, Abraham Lincoln, those were good times? Like, what? Who cares? Like, all of our presidents suck in my recent history. I think this is just an excuse to take a day off in February. Yeah, I'm off today, and it's a paid holiday for me, so I'm not going to complain. I just don't get why I have a paid holiday today. Like, what am I supposed to sit here and reflect on that I shouldn't come into work to do this? I don't know, but happy President's Day, everybody. Sorry I didn't dress up like a president, but maybe I will be president someday, so I'm just dressing up as myself. A preemptive cosplay, if you will. News of tournaments that are taking place that may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. SAC tournament number 4 is this upcoming Saturday. I did a breakdown on episode 101 of what all the teams need to do to make the Final 8 tournament that is going to happen after this upcoming 4th qualifier. I would assume the amount of teams that play in this 4th qualifier are going to drop a little bit. That's how it always is for the 4th tournament. Teams that have little to no chance of making the top 8 usually don't play unless they I mean, there's still stuff to get out of it, obviously, but there is another tournament going on that may be of interest to some people. The NA Open is back, this time including the United States, Canada, and Mexico, not just the United States. Turf War only. Another ladder tournament is going to be going on the same day, not at the same exact time. You can do both, actually. But as it's been pointed out, if you actually want to win a prize in the Turf War tournament, you pretty much have to play the entire 4 hours without stopping, because you can't KO your opponent. So if you get fed a baby team, you just got to spank them for 3 minutes instead of 15 seconds, which kind of sucks. If Turf War had a KO feature, I would like it a lot more for competitive. The fact that it doesn't kind of sucks. But still. Also, Layer Cake 2 is going to be Wednesday. It's the last week of the month. It's the last week of the month. I said that correctly. I got confused. I thought I didn't. So there's no SOS. So in its place, Roundy's running a tournament, Layer Cake. Basically the same format as SOS, except it's not. You get grouped into groups based off of what your skill level is. So you don't like earn a spot in the. I don't know. It's just playing it. You guys are gonna like it. It's hard to explain, but it's fun. It's an interesting concept. It's you guys will enjoy it. It's for all skill levels. Playing it. Today we are going to be recapping Low Inc. Not just grand finals, not just the DC shenanigans that went on yesterday, but also all the matches from Saturday, or some of the matches from Saturday, my winners from Saturday, and a deep dive look into Gamma, Beta, Alpha, and a conversation with Corona Beer, one of the players for the Shiver Me Feeders, to get their perspective on a lot of the things that happened yesterday and what it feels like to be a Low Inc. champion. So much stuff that we need to cover today that I don't have time for a weekly recap. So if you're here wondering if I'm going to pat you on the back for winning SOS or Hammerhead Bracket or something else or Paddling Pool, sorry, we're booked. This is a Low Inc. recap episode, baby. We got a lot of stuff to get through. So we'll get to all of that stuff. But first. Yeah, that sucked. I mean, there's no way to pretty it up or anything like that. That finals just flat out sucked. You had a game 5 in a great set that had the potential to become a bracket reset that would have gone to a game 10. You got 9 commentating. One of the best, if not the best, Splatoon 2 commentators ever. You have 300 viewers, which is now about the standard for grand finals of Low Inc. And then you get the second DC of the set in a game 5 where the score is tied at 100 apiece. Nobody has a clear advantage. But because it's the second DC, Kraken United cannot get another replay. Shiver Me Feeders wins by default. A bit of a letdown, huh? Maybe we've been spoiled in Low Inc.'s past, where we get these epic Game 10 with these amazing finishes with the team throwing the power clam at the basket and losing because they should have thrown it like 3 frames sooner, and just these dramatic finishes, and then we get essentially the most anticlimactic finish yesterday. Unfortunate. But maybe we've just been spoiled to assume that Low Inc. is always going to be just unbelievable stuff that's going to drive conversations on Twitter for days to come. And that did happen, just in a little bit of a different way. A lot about what I'm going to talk about today is going to go along with basically what happened in that game 5. And one thing I want to point out right off the bat is a lot of people were comparing this to June of last year, where Deep Fried excuse me. The Deep Fried Octolings beat Sirius in a bracket reset, Game 6 Tower Control Art Academy, where Sirius DC'd and the Deep Fried Octolings were able to get the win off of that. A little bit of a different scenario here, though, that I want to point out that it's a major difference. That disconnect that Sirius had, while Sirius had DC'd so much during that set that they weren't going to get a replay anyways, that even if there wasn't a replay, that DC happened with Sirius having such a huge lead and more than enough time off the clock to where when that DC happened, there wasn't a chance for a replay. So that game was going to stand no matter what in that deep fried Octoling set that caused them to ultimately win that one. The difference here is the final DC happened in Game 5 with 1 minute taken off the clock, and neither team nobody even got even close to establishing control of mid at that point. The game was 100% neutral after the first minute. And of course, when the DC happened, 3v4 in a neutral situation, 4 minutes to go. There was no way. I said it on stream. If there was some way that Crack United found a way to win that game in a 3v4, they're winning the bracket reset. We don't even need to play it. There's no way that Shiver Me could come back from that. And of course, they destroyed them like they should in a 4v3. So these situations are totally different. What you guys saw yesterday hasn't happened before. It's not the same as this Deep Fried Octoling serious set. Completely different. The reaction to what happened, since so many people were watching it live, including a lot of big name viewers, well-known people in the community were in chat watching that one live. A lot of the reaction was what drove the conversation. And I want to break down a lot of the different narratives that I saw floating around in the Twitch chat and Discord and Twitter last night, because there were a lot of different takes people were having. And a lot of them were bad. A lot of them were really bad takes. And I want to give at least my perspective of it. This is all my opinion. This is a disclaimer here. Yes, I am a head TO for Low Inc. with IPL. What I am about to say here is all my opinion, straight up. That is to say that we are going to have conversations, I'm sure, about specific rules as Low Inc. staff. And I'm not sitting here saying anything is or ain't going to change, because we haven't really sat down and had those conversations yet. So this is just me speaking openly. Don't take this as, oh, well, he said this, so that means this is what's going to happen going forward. It's not. I'm just a small piece of the puzzle that goes in with Low Inc., which is why it always annoys me when somebody, oh, Popgun banned me from Low Inc. Bruh, there's like 10 people that work on verification staff. What do you mean I banned you? Get over it. The first take I want to dispel. The DC rules need to be changed. Okay, let's talk about this one. This is the biggest one. So we're probably going to spend a lot of time here, so let's get into it. People suggested a lot of different things about DC rules that needed to change specifically. I haven't seen one personally yet that made me think, oh, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea that we should change this rule for that. One thing I want to point out, there is not the DC rules that Low Inc. has is the same exact DC rules that every other tournament in this community has as well. Now, it might not be like some tournaments do 230. I think we do 2. Some tournaments do 50 points remaining. I think we do 30. So those things are a little bit different. But there is not a single tournament. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone can prove that there is a tournament that before yesterday had different rules specifically for their grand finals than for the rest of their tournament, I would like to hear it. But I'm pretty sure there is not a single tournament that has that kind of rule. So when people go to Low Inc. suggestions and are suggesting a rule change, they're not suggesting a rule change for Low Inc. They're suggesting a rule change for the entire community. That's something I want to point out. But some of the suggestions I saw, an extra DC in a deciding game is something somebody pointed out on Twitter. You should get an extra disconnect replay if the DC happens in a tournament deciding game. The problem with that is what happens if you DC for a second time in game 2? Well, that's not a tournament deciding game, but you get the free win for that. But if you DC in game 3, that could be a tournament deciding game. We're going to let you do a replay. Well, then doesn't that completely disvalue the DC in game 2 that automatically got you a free win? Like, every game in a grand final set of best of 5 is a deciding game to some extent. When you lose game 5, you got to go back and say, well, if we win game 1, then we might not be in this situation down the road anyway. So you can't put emphasis, if you're going to do a special rules in grand finals, you can't put an emphasis specifically on like certain games in the set. Like every single game in a grand final set has to have the same rule set. You can't change the rules in the middle of a set as the tournament goes along. Somebody in suggestion channel last night, and I don't want to discourage people from leaving suggestions. I just want to be able to explain my personal take on those suggestions. Suggestions are completely up for debate unless somebody goes in the suggestion channel and just completely lies about something we did, which is not true. We don't appreciate people throwing shade on us that is 100% false. That happens a lot with Flowing, so we're going to defend ourselves with that. But a suggestion that was yesterday was, after the second DC in a grand final, you should be forced to sub out the player who DCs, but you get the replay anyways. You guys realize that is a super rare and niche situation to happen, to where you have a player that DCs a second time in the same set and that you have a sub available to just take that person out. I don't think Cracky United had a sub ready to go. Yeah, you looked at the roster on the stream. It showed 6 players, including EST, who subbed for them day 1. That doesn't mean all 6 of those players are available at that current time. Remember the Twisted Time Red Sunset? Both of those players had like 6 or 7 players on their roster, but that set went on for so long that people had to go to work or had other obligations or whatever, that you were only left with 4 players left on each side. And those players were DCing like it was their birthright in that set. They would have loved to sub out those disconnecting players. They had no choice but to play them. So if that rule was put into place where you have to sub out a player who DCs a second time, but you get a replay, that would not have changed the situation yesterday at all, because Kraken United didn't have a player to sub in. You still would have had to do a 3v4. There still would have been a bit of a disappointment and letdown at the end there. So that specific rule change would not have changed yesterday at all. And it's just the DC rule in general. The generic rule people were saying was, in grand finals specifically, you should be allowed to DC twice with a replay. Why? Because it's on stream and you want a dramatic finish to the tournament? I don't understand. I need to take a sip. If you DC once, you get the replay. Why should you be given credit if you DC twice? If you're DCing 2 times in a best of 5 set, that is unacceptable. That is flat out unacceptable. That's why you only get 1 replay. You guys are saying you should get 2 replays in grand finals. Why stop there? What happens if they DC a 3rd time? Which is if you DC twice, it's very, very likely you're just going to DC that 3rd time. So why should you get an opportunity to screw up and slow down the set even more a 3rd time? That makes no sense to me. And then when it happens the 3rd time, someone's going to go and help us. Oh, you should be allowed to DC 3 times to get a replay. You have to draw the line somewhere. And for anyone to argue that more than 1 disconnect is unfair, I don't understand. I can't understand that. My biggest gripe with this is you guys, to some extent. Because you guys complain about lag and latency, and you guys used to bring the most baby of baby issues to help desk of somebody teleporting. Yes, yeah, a little bit of latency, but expecting us to like force a replay or kick that player out of the tournament or something like that because of one little thing. Like, you guys will go on Twitter and rant for days on end about people who lag and share all these clips. And I get that. But at the same time, you guys want rules that benefit people that lag and disconnect in tournaments? That may, like, pick a lane, guys. You either are so supportive of people that lag and disconnect, or you hate them so much that you find ways, invent new ways to shame these people on Twitter. Like, I don't understand that. I was listening to, there's this other narrative here that kind of ties into this, that just kind of feeds into everybody's kind of mindset of what happened here. I was listening to JPEG and Ray's podcast on Wednesday where they had Shaq on. One of the topics they were talking about was named, how people will change their names for tournaments and they don't match what the Battlefy roster is, which was a huge issue this past Low Inc. People were trying to be cute with their names for some reason, and it didn't match. They didn't change it on Battlefy because once the tournament starts, your name's locked in. But they tried to be cute so their names weren't matching, and there was a team who did actually lose a game because their name didn't match, and they tried to fix it and still didn't get it to match. It was bizarre. But in high level tournaments, it's not exactly a rule. It's just more of like a comfort kind of thing. Like if I play against a team, if I play in a pickup and I change my name to Your Mom LeMayo, and you just see Your Mom LeMayo join the lobby and you don't know it's me, and then you don't bring Quad Missile to fight my Hydra, you might be a little screwed. But if I join the lobby with Pop Gun's name, you're going to be like, oh, I know. Oh, we got to use Quad Missile. That's the only way to beat Pop Gun's Hydra. That's why, like, whenever I play a tournament and I know some of the players, but one of them I know is, like, the name doesn't match on Battlefy, I'll just ask in chat, like, who is that? And it's not just so I can tattle on them to a TOs, because I don't care what their name is. I just want to know who the player is so I know what kind of comp to build or work around here. When it comes to that kind of rule, though, it's hard to implement that. Not because it's a hard rule to implement. It's so easy to just look at, hey, your name doesn't match, you guys lose a point. It's because if anybody were to use that rule to their advantage in a tournament, you guys would go on Twitter and throw hissy fits about somebody who took advantage of a rule to take a win off of somebody. It's this narrative that you guys want TOs to enforce rules, but if it's a rule you don't agree with, you don't want them to enforce that rule. So it's like, okay, you want TOs to do things for you, but you'll also get on TOs for doing those things that you told them you want them to do. It makes no sense. It's the same kind of situation right here. This DC was 100% within the rules. Like Shiver Me taking the win there is 100% in the rules, not of Low Inc., but of every single tournament we have in this community. How could you be mad at anybody for enforcing that rule? That's what you guys claim you want from your TOs, is to enforce those exact rules. So, I don't know. Yes, it sucks. It sucks how that situation all went down. But to change the rules, I think is so extreme for just that particular niche situation that you probably will see it again. But it's so rare, and it's really not worth this kind of overreaction. Another narrative people were talking about that I saw. Shiver Me should have done a gentleman's agreement on a replay. No. There's no circumstance where they should have done that. I can understand why people's initial reaction would be, oh, please do the replay so that we can see this awesome set. But when you think about it from their perspective, why would they have nothing to gain by doing the reset? Their player was sick. One of their players was sick. They were getting tired, and all these DCs are just dragging out the set and making things a little bit more worse for everybody involved, right? And I saw somebody tweet out something like, oh, they had 7 players on their roster. They could have just subbed out that player that was sick and just keep playing. And yeah, they probably had Corona, who was ready to go, who did sub in for them on Manta Maria games with their Octobrush. But my counter argument is, wait a minute. Why should Shiver Me feeders be put in a situation where they need to sub out their sick player, nerf themselves to some extent, because the other team can't stay in the lobby? What sense does that make? Why would the other team DCing force the team that is staying in the lobby to be in a disadvantage? That is absolutely insane. And they didn't force, it's not their fault. Like, nothing that happened in that grand finals was their fault. They didn't force Kraken United to disconnect. I'm pretty sure they don't have a device that they can just flip a switch and force someone on the other team to disconnect. I'm not well versed in technology, so I don't know if that's an actual thing or not. But there's three different entities that were involved in that grand finals: Kraken United, Shiver Me Feeders, and the TOs. If of those three entities, the number one, the first person that you have an issue with is Shiver Me Feeders, instead of the team that disconnect, instead of the TOs that enforce the rule that every other tournament has, if you look past those two and say, no, Shiver Me Feeders is the one that's in the wrong here, I don't know what world you live in. I don't know what to say. I can't call you a moron, because that would be an insult to morons. So I don't know what to say about that. That is, ridiculous is the most appropriate word I can use for this stream that I got to do here. The Shiver Me Feeders shouldn't even be anywhere close. Now, look, I get the initial reaction, but if today, at the time you're listening to this, Shiver Me Feeders is the number one enemy on your list of what happened yesterday, I'm sorry. You are a moronic moron. Number 3, and this is my personal biggest issue with this entire situation. Shiver Me Feeders broke the worst unwritten rule that I feel like you could possibly break in this community. Me personally, I feel like this. Never apologize for winning. Never apologize for winning under any circumstances. If somebody complains that you use quad missile or double missile, double armor on Twitter, don't apologize for that. If somebody complains that you took advantage of a rule that is designed to protect you from whatever, people smurfing into a tournament potentially, people disconnecting, slowing down a tournament, never apologize for that. Never, ever apologize for winning. If you beat a team in a funny way on stream, if someone tried to do this, don't reach out to that other team and say, hey, sorry we beat you guys in that way. No, never apologize for winning under any circumstances. Because what do you have to apologize for? Hey, sorry that we won because you disconnected. Hey, sorry we beat you. I feel so bad about this. If you get a W, take it. It's yours. You've earned it. My goodness, could you imagine somebody like a president winning an election? It's President's Day, and this being like, hey, I'm sorry I got more votes than the other guy. I feel so bad about that. No, you won. Never apologize for winning. I cannot say this enough. I know I've said that before on the podcast, but I want to drive that point home now. If I see any of you in chat ever apologize in any circumstances for winning, I am going to think less of you. I'm going to think less of you. What sucks about all this, what sucks the most, is that this is how this Loinc is going to be remembered. Now, I like that Loincs are memorable. I like that Loincs drive conversations. It sucks, though, because so much else... I'm losing my voice. That's how mad I am right now. But there's so many amazing things that happen in that Loinc that we're just not going to talk about because of what the narrative is. Can we talk about Kraken United Keto on the squeezer? I've never heard of Keto before, but that dude or dudette was just an absolute monster. I mean, you remember that My Lag Paradise set where it looked like My Lag Paradise was just going to show Kraken United the door and then kick their butt on the way out and hopefully not say, hey, sorry for destroying you on stream. No, Quito willed their team to victory in a situation where Crack United had no business winning at all. And that just kind of propelled Crack United to this godly run that they went on there. That was amazing to see. And I want that to be one of the moments that get remembered for this low ink. I want My Lag Paradise to be remembered for this because they entered a different echelon. I said they were in the category of Unlimited Women United, of where they just kind of flowed around the middle of beta bracket and alpha bracket, and then 1 month they just flip the switch and they just go from like 0 to 100 and they just win the whole doggone thing. That's not the case anymore. My Lag Paradise is now top tier. I've seen enough. I saw them now. There's no beating around the bush. They choked away that win to Kraken United. They flat out choked it. I'm sorry. But that doesn't matter. I saw enough in those few moments against Crack United to realize My Lag Paradise is legit. Going forward, these guys are a top tier team. This is the month they took that first stand. Not your, but My Lag Paradise. And of course, the biggest narrative, man, and this sucked for the Deep Fried Octolings too, because for the Shiver Me Feeders, this is one of those teams made up of players from Shiver Me Inklings, where it goes over from where they start off and they're just one of those 2 and 4 teams or one of the 5 teams, and they just grow and grow and grow eventually to the point to where they win it. Shiver Me Feeders is a team you guys root for. The same thing for the Deep Fried Octolings. The same thing for what My Lag Paradise is now. The same thing for Legato, who we're going to talk about a little bit. There was somebody in chat a couple before the tournament started being like, man, I really don't want to play against Legato. And I was like, look, at one point, Legato was a 2 and 4 lowing team. And look where they become now. Look how much they've grown. You guys celebrate success stories. Shiver Me Feeders is a success story, and I really want us to celebrate that. With that being said, we're going to dive into talk about what made this low ink so great besides the grand finals fiasco. We're going to talk about some of the matches from Swiss, my winners from Swiss. We'll look at Gamma, Beta, and Alpha, and then we'll dip back into the grand finals when we talk to Corona in a second. Ugh. Man, I'm screwing up all kinds of overlays today. Let's get that fixed. That works great. Hui. Swiss matches of note. And we're basically going to talk about literally every single match that was put on stream. So I kind of tweeted this out. Every stretch match on stream on Saturday was a 2-1 result. Some of that is a lot of that is just figuring out like ahead of time, like, hey, which one of these teams would be pretty close. That's just knowledge on these teams. A lot of it is just luck, though, because some of these matches were a lot closer and could have been like 3-0s. And it's just luck that a team that won game 1 lost game 2, literally every single instance. I don't think this is ever going to happen again, because the odds of these exact scenarios happening again is very, very low, but it's still interesting to see. So let's talk about literally every single match that was on stream, going from round 1 through 6. Sorry, Inkvaders. First off, Illumini got a 2-1 win over the Jelly Squids. I think DC issues kind of played a role in that game 1 for Illumini. Illumini was just kind of a scramble to get in there, so maybe putting them on stream in round 1 was a bit unfair. But the reason we put them on stream is because I just felt like it was the best match that we had. Here's the crazy thing. So we started off in Group B in round 1, and then A to B, A and B, A, B, so that each group got streamed evenly. In Group B, there was only one match in round 1 that ended in a 1-2 result, and it was Illumini versus Jelly Squids. It was the only one. If we picked any other match in Group B, literally any other match, it would have been 3-0. So that's just flat out luck right there. But still, that was a good set on stream as well. I felt like Illumini was going to win, but I always want to see Jelly Squids what they do, because I feel like they're always on that verge of starting to pop off and turning that corner. Illumini being the traditional alpha bracket team, ultimately getting the win there. Round 2, we had Sommerzite versus Coco Wumi. Sommerzite getting the 2-1 win there. I don't the name Sommerzite, I know I'm missing like 20 letters at the end there. And it's funny, we were like telling the commentators how it's pronounced, and like making sure they knew that on stream. And I think Inkfair just kind of like bashed it over their heads. Sommerzite. But they got it right. The game 2, was the key moment here that's probably going to be replayed several times on low extremes. Rainmaker on Mako Mart, where Coco Wumi, basically a 1v4 situation. They grabbed the Rainmaker, got the lead, and turned around and did like the backward shooting strat to recoil themselves up the uninkable wall to get even more points off of that. That was really cool to see by Coco Wumi in a losing effort, but got them into a game 3 because of that. Sommerzite getting the win there ultimately. Oofish got a 2-1 win in round 3 over Marine Melody. Marine Melody had this one locked up. They lost game 1, they won game 2, and it looked like they were going to win game 3 and hold on. And then double cookies. And this is why I kept saying double cookies in staff VC, because they had a player called Double Cookies who was using Tri-Slosher. Went all triple cookies on them and got a huge play to open up the door for Efish to get the knockout in the closing minutes there on Rainmaker Snapper Canal. Really good set. Not like a sneaky good 2-1 result. That was a really tight 2-1, all of those games there. The Night Logic got a 2-1 win over the Inkvaders. And this Inkvaders won game 1 in a very close Tower Control Schellendorf game. Do you guys hate Tower Control Schellendorf? Like, we don't put it in there often. We'll put it in there like once every 3 months or so. It's not. I mean, it's not going to be there again next month, but it's just funny. It didn't mean to end up in there twice. In the same day. It just kind of happened, and we just left it in there. But every time we put TC Shell on it, it's always a good set. We always see some crazy Tri-Slosher plays. But after game 1, the Night Logic just kind of flipped the switch, and they were able to kind of take care of business in those last 2 games. One of the rare instances where the team lost game 1 on stream that day and then won the next 2 after that. I think most of the other was like 1, and then the other team won, and then the team that won game 1 won game 3 there. Oh, Susano, don't you cry for me. You beat Clownfish in a 2-1 result on stream. This was a clutch hold in game 3 of Clan Blitz at the Reef for Susano over the very old and established team Clownfish, who we like to see playing back in this low ink. And I think they barely got lead. It was one of those Clan Blitz games where like you just pop the basket and that's the only push that you get. So it's just who pops the basket the most. And I think Susano was able to pop the basket just slightly one more time than Clanfish. But another great set on stream. Round 5, that was round 5. So round 6 was the Dark Rain versus Blazing Storm match where Dark Rain won 2-1. Again, another clutch hold in game 3, this time on Tower Control at main stage. If you guys pay attention to streams on Saturday, what we put on round 6 is supposed to be like a play-in match where whoever wins makes alpha and the loser probably isn't going to make alpha. They're going to fall to beta, just to like make like the most competitive match that we can put on stream. Both teams ended up making alpha anyways. Blazing Storm fell to 4-2, but their opponent win percentage was good enough to bump them up through anyways, but it's still another fantastic set to put on stream that had something on the line. What I love about this low ink, and for the set before the sets before 9 and I commentated, all those sets were so doggone close and right with each other. They were either 2-1 results or 2-3. I think there was the first match on Saturday or on Sunday was like a 2-0 result that wasn't super competitive, but still, like, everything else was so tight. And you love that. You want your commentators, you know they're not doing grand finals, but you want them to have hype moments to commentate. All of the commentators we put on had really great moments that were fun for them to commentate and had a lot of viewers and had a lot of meaning behind it. So that's why I'm excited that all these sets were really close. The other set, there's only one match that wasn't on stream that I want to talk about. Inker Swim getting a 2-1 win over Dive. Dive with an exclamation mark, so then you need to put emphasis on that. Now, Inker Swim's best win of the year is against Kingmaker. But I'm sitting here thinking, if I don't mention Inker Swim again until they get a Kingmaker caliber win, I might not talk about them for a while. But getting this win against Dive is significant. A team that went 4-2 and made beta bracket last month. A team that did really well in beta bracket this month as well. I'll talk about them a little bit later. So I wanted to give shout outs to Inker Swim for getting that win. My winners from the Saturday Swiss stage. Give me Persistent 7, who I hope just goes by Ocean 7 going forward, just for the sake of consistency. Unless they're just Persistent 7 now going forward. Pick a name and stick with it. Hey, they went 6-0. Key wins against Acropora, Legato, and Shiver Me Feeders. All 2-1 results that they were able to clutch out in a Game 3. Shiver Me Feeders being the team that had the highest opponent win percentage, which I saw one of their players say over and over and over again in the general chat on Saturday. It's true. 77.77 opponent win percentage. That is really high. The upper 70s is really, really high. 5-1 result there. Key wins against Dark Rain, Blazing Storm, Heavens, Infinity, Aquatic Vanguard. Also, they lost against Persistence. They almost did the snowfall route of playing nothing but alpha bracket teams, which is really unfortunate, but they didn't. They played Stein, who I believe made gamma brackets. We'll go back and look at that in a second. But still, 77.77. That's a rough schedule, and they were able to get 5 wins out of it anyways. That's another reason why Shiver Me Feeders was a legit champion in this tournament. Crimson Quake, 4-2 in this tournament, making alpha bracket with key wins against the Yummy Stars, Michigan State University, and Ink or Swim. Their pre-show, we had them on in the pre-show, and if I recall, I think they said they were just kind of hoping to make beta. They didn't have any crazy high expectations for this one. Hey, they made alpha bracket, so now the bar's being raised a little bit more. Inker Swim went 3-3 with key wins over Broken Controller Gaming and Dive, finding their way into beta bracket, a legit way into beta bracket. Inker Swim, again, one of the oldest, if not the oldest team in this tournament. You love to see them keep playing. You want to see man, if Inker Swim wins the low ink someday, I hope it doesn't have a DC in grand finals, because I really want to celebrate a team like that. Accomplishing some things there. Beating Broken Controller Gaming and Dive are significant wins for them. Michigan State University Splatoon. The Spartans, 3-3 with key wins over Surf and Turf Wave Riders in Lydian. Good enough for the number 1 seed in Gamma after a few teams bumped up there. The current best college team in low level, now that ITAP has been officially, unofficially given the mid-level tag, whatever that is. Sparty finding a way to get into Gamma bracket here. Oh, Susano, why do you have a dash and an O after your name? I don't know. Went 2-4 in June, bumped up to 2-4 in June of last year. It's been a while since we saw these guys play. 3-3 this time around. Key wins over Clownfish, as I mentioned on stream. Down to Splat. Slipping into beta brackets that we'll take a look at in a second. This one goes out to JPEG, who liked this team name. The Lucario Boy Wives went 3-3 with key wins over Devil's Anchor, No Name Brand, and Susano, making beta bracket for this pickup. What is a boy wife? Isn't that just a husband? I don't know. I don't know what a boy wife is. Haya is usually the person I go to for Gen Z stuff, and every time Haya explains something to me from Gen Z, I get disappointed and I feel a little hurt inside knowing that someday Gen Z's children are going to be taking care of me in my nursing home. So it's not the future of old Popgun's not looking good here, but the future of Lucario Boy Wives, if they play again, might be brighter. Oofish went 3-3 with key wins over No Name Brand, Marine Melody, comfortably finding their spot into beta brackets. Another one of those teams that finishes like in the bottom bracket of LSL that has grown since then as well. Another team you root for just growing, just for straight up keep playing in tournaments and keep growing. Just like the Bamboo Dragons, who went 3-3 in this tournament with key wins over Calamari Crew down to Splat and an impressive 2-1 win over Clownfish, finding their way into Game Up Bracket. I think there are 2 O's in Bamboo Dragons, not just one at the end there. Blazing Storm, the Blazing Storm, went 4-2 with key wins over Crimson Quake Acropora, and found their way back into Alpha Bracket. I talked about how they lost to Dark Rain on stream. Doesn't matter. You just got to qualify for Alpha Bracket. It doesn't have to be pretty. You can go 6-0 like Ocean 7, or you could go 4-2 like Blazing Storm. Just make Alpha Bracket, baby, and Sunday will be fun. Summerzites went 3-3 with key wins over Wave Riders and Kokowumi, as I mentioned on stream, got into beta bracket. I saw them in general chat last night saying that I scolded them at some point during the tournament. Now, I can't remember why. I scolded a lot of people on Saturday and Sunday. It's not fun. TOing is not always fun. But if you just let people walk all over you, you will lose control of your tournament very quickly. So that is, if I seem like I'm kind of aggressive with you guys at points, it's probably because I am, but don't take it personally. That's why I do a Popcast, so you guys can see my face and know that I don't actually hate all of you guys. I just despise you like crazy. So whatever I yelled at Summerzite for, don't take it personally. You guys did really well and got into beta bracket here. Biggest winner from the weekend goes out to the Outcast Ninjas, going 4-2 with key wins against Susano, Up the Ante, Inked, and Inked, INKD. Alpha Bracket, and got some really quality wins there against some really quality opponents, Up the Ante and Inked, and obviously Susano, the beta bracket team. You want to see Outcast Ninjas get into Alpha Bracket and stay in Alpha Bracket. That's where they belong. Nice result there. And got some really good quality wins there on Saturday. Let's take a look. I told Corona Beer be ready at 12:15. It's now 12:16. We still got a whole segment to go through. Hang on, Corona. We'll speed through this. We're going to look at Gamma Bracket, Beta, and Alpha. The teams I want to talk about here really quickly, other than these 2 teams, obviously. The Bamboo Dragons. You see they lost to Pufferfish Party, who I looked up. I didn't spend enough time looking up Pufferfish Party because they did really good here. I just glanced at last month and I saw there wasn't a team called Pufferfish Party. So I'll keep an eye on them. I'll make a mental note to talk about them in the preview next time if they play, because they did do good, pretty well here. I just don't know. I just can't recall if this is like a good result for them or what. But I do know Bamboo Dragons have a good result here, losing to them in round 1, ultimately losing to them in losers, but still got a nice little run here in losers bracket, going 6-0 before getting puffed yet again by Pufferfish. No Name Brand. This team I did look up, and these guys played in Little Squid League. So going from Little Squid League to really doing some damage here, beating the team that finished in second place at round 1, Hidden Radiance of the Dawn? Yes, I got it right. Sometimes Twilight sneaks in there. And taking care of business against Clownfish as well, ultimately ending up in third place with Surf and Turf getting a little bit of revenge against them. So not bad for a team that had last played in LSL last time they played in a tournament. Surf and Turf, let's talk about these guys because I haven't talked about these guys in a long time, and they played in a lot of tournaments. They just haven't done anything notable to be talked about in a while. They do so here, though, doing the lowest run through losers bracket. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 3-1. Did they go through losers bracket 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13-1 in losers bracket? Yikes, Surf and Turf. Somebody woke you up after getting 2-0'd by No Name Brand. Ran into the buzzsaw here of, and I'm going to need help pronouncing this one. The Blue Galuses. I'm assuming that is a fish, because if it's a word I cannot pronounce, and there's like this blue in front of it, sometimes fish have like a color in their name. I'm assuming this is a fish. Galuses. Thank you, Valor Rock. I'm just going to call them the Bluefish team for now until we figure it out. This is a really good result for this team, because the last time we saw them play in a tournament, it was Laszlo Inc., where they didn't even play. They dropped in it, so that we didn't get to see what they were doing. This is a new team from what we can tell, and coming into their first Gamma bracket here as the 12 seed, which, again, seedings doesn't really matter, but dominated, swept, lost one game to Surf and Turf. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 14-1 run here for what Valorock is saying is a slug. That is a fast tournament run here for the sluggish team, the Blue Galuses. We'll keep an eye on them going forward. Beta bracket. Here's where things start getting interesting. Not that Gamma wasn't interesting, but you got old Susano, who got bumped up in this. This is another one of those things where it's you get bumped up because you're supposed to be in Gamma bracket. I forget who didn't, but one team, I think just one beta bracket team didn't make it. Actually, no, two, because I feel like Sommerzite, I remember pinging them in help desk that they got bumped up here as well. So Susano got bumped up late as the team that's like, hey, we're happy to be in beta bracket, versus the team that's like, oh, crap, we were so close to making alpha bracket. It's no wonder why we see these 1 versus 16 upsets all the time. It happened again in alpha bracket, but it's not, I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, honestly, that these things keep happening. You should assume the 16 seed's going to win at this point, because it happens more often than not. The three teams I want to talk about here, Cube, a.k.a. Prism, after losing to the You-Me Stars, went down here on a little bit of a run. Pompano. Did Pompano ever play Susano? That would be a commentator nightmare there. Got a sweep against them. Swept Inker Swim. Took care of the Squid Killers. Took care of OK Woomer before getting eliminated by Dive, who finished in third place. Not bad for Cube. Another one of those teams where you could say, I could easily see these guys in alpha bracket before this tournament started. How they made a deep run here in beta bracket kind of justifies them, because they took care of some, like Squid Killers is an alpha bracket team for sure. OK Wimmer's been up there before. These are some quality wins they got here in these best of 3 sets. Just unfortunate that they had to make this deep run in losers bracket. OK Wimmer deserves some credit as well. 2-0ing the Squid Killers, 3-0ing Susano before just running into a buzzsaw of the Yummy Stars. And then obviously Cube getting the better end of them right there. But OK Wimmer, I feel like they had a bad month last month, but obviously bounced back right here with a good result there. Dive deserves a lot of credit. These guys, I kind of mentioned they made beta bracket before last month, but look, they almost made the lowest run here. 2-0 over this team 2-0 Susano, 2-1 Intimidation Factor. I haven't talked about Intimidation Factor in a while. Swept Illumini, swept Cube, and then just ran into they just couldn't outbet Up the Ante here. Both of these teams having exclamation marks in their name. I wonder if that makes them a little bit of a rivalry there over who owns that exclamation mark. Very aggressive names there going into the favor of Up the Ante. But Dive finished tied for 9th in beta bracket last month. 3rd place, bronze medal this time around. Nice little glow up for them. The finals match here. This has to be a rivalry because some of these players Up the Ante have played against Yume Stars when some of these players were back in a Nightshade X, I believe is where some of these players came from. So there's a little bit of history here between these two teams. And you get the sense that this is the future. Like I could see Up the Ante in the Yume Stars going up against each other in a grand finals, like in the summer or beyond, kind of down the road. But there's another thing I want to point out. There's never been a team that has won Gamma, Beta, and Alpha brackets. Probably for good reason. It's hard to do that. And it's funny for the Yummy Stars because they were in Alpha bracket 2 months ago. Then they fell to Gamma last month, which they won. Now they fell to Beta this month, which they won. So now they are so close to becoming the first team to win all 3 brackets ever. Could they do it all in back-to-back months? That would be insane. But they're an Alpha bracket caliber team. They prove it all on Sunday. If they could just get some doggone wins on Saturday and get back to Alpha bracket, they're going to be a beast. They're just having issues for whatever reason getting those wins on Saturday. Let's talk about Alpha bracket, the teams that made it here. And again, no surprise that, well, I mean, this is a little bit of a different situation. It's not like Ocean 7 was like, oh man, I can't believe we made number 1 seed. They were excited to make it. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw of a team that was just really hot because you saw this pickup team was just beating everybody and ended up in 3rd place until they just ran out of gas. So that's just, I mean, it's Alpha bracket's just tough. On Saturday, you guys, what you guys don't realize is, or some of you do, on Saturday, it doesn't really matter what you do because on Sunday, you play nothing but Alpha bracket teams. Nothing but the best of the best. There are no Gamma teams here. There are no 1 and 5 teams here. These are all nothing but monsters. And I'm not saying Ocean 7 like slept on pickup at all. I'm just saying that this is why we see so many teams go undefeated on Saturday and then lose immediately in round 1. It's just a completely different tournament at this point. What you do on Saturday doesn't matter at all. Just make Alpha bracket, baby, because the number 16 seed can do very well, including Fluency, who won the tournament as a number 16 seed. That's all that matters. One thing I do want to point out is the Little Timmies and the Splats, a.k.a. the Destiny Troops, a.k.a. Ink Sync. Why didn't you just go by Ink Sync? I don't understand. Played Heaven's Infinity and had a very interesting take on a counter pick here. I've jokingly pointed out in the past when a team lost on their counter pick, I said, you could just pick that map again. And honestly, and I didn't think anybody would actually do it. Little Timmy and the Splats did it. they picked Tower Control Art Academy, got smoked on it, absolutely destroyed on it, and said, you know what? Let's run it back. And they, I couldn't believe it. They did the same map twice. And they almost got smoked there again until they got one giant push and they were able to get the win and just leaving chat and with their jaws on the floor. And I haven't seen Gigas' stream, but I want to go back and watch Gigas' stream of that moment. I think Flowink staff is going to take a look at that just to see the VC because it's a cool little moment. And it's an interesting take because there's no like set rule of like, these are the counter picks you should make. Salty's argument was Smash Brothers does that. If you pick your best map and you lose there, you just pick it again. Yes, that is true. Smash Brothers does that. I don't think it's fair to compare Splatoon to Smash Brothers at all. It's not the same game. The only common denominator is that they're on the Switch. But you talk about Melee, you only have, what, 6 maps to choose from? So it's not like you have if you lose on your best map, of course you got to pick it. You might not have like any other maps to pick from. In low ink, you have 23 maps to pick from. But I get the logic. I get the logic of this is our best map. Let's just keep picking it until we win there. But when you have 23 different maps to choose from, there's probably a scenario of like, yeah, we might have lost on our best map, but we have like 5 other maps that we're really good at and probably like are a hindrance to the other team. If your best map is the same best map as your opponent and you could pick a map that is better for you and worse for them, that's a better counter pick, right? So I'm not sitting here. I'm just like debating logic here. Obviously it worked out for Little Timmy and the Splats. You can't argue with results. Results are fact. But I just thought it was an interesting counter pick. One we've never seen. I've always joked about it happening. It happened and it worked. I'm not convinced that it's something we're going to see again. But we always see some bizarre counter picks. And for some reason, they always end up working on stream and low ink. I love counter picks. I'm glad that they're here. I know some people were against them initially, but the more you guys do counter picks, I think more people like doing them. I think it's really made low ink a lot more interesting. My winners from Alpha Bracket. Let's start off with this team. I haven't mentioned them at all. Kind Plan. They lost the Blazing Storm 2-0. They bashed the Ink Bashers, took care of Aquatic Vanguard, beat up Little Timmy and the Splats, and ultimately losing to Kraken United. I believe it's either a new team or a pickup, I'm not sure, but we talked about pickup having members of Emptiness on it. I think this team had members of Emptiness on it as well. So a lot of experienced Alpha Bracket teams playing in this tournament. I think we knew these guys would do decently well just because they had some Emptiness members on it, but they had made a nice little run here, and I wanted to point that out. Not your, but My Lag Paradise. I kind of talked about they've entered a new tier with what we saw in from them. What would really help out though is if they don't lose in round 1, because they got all these wins in losers bracket here. Crimson Quake, that's a good win, but Inked, that's a really quality win, a 2-0 over Inked. The knocking out Ocean 7 2-0, that is a really impressive. Heaven's Infinity, another team I need to put more attention to because these guys are getting really good results. And I feel like I haven't talked about them hardly at all. My Leg Paradise was able to beat them. And then, like we mentioned, should have beaten Crack United. Straight up, they should have beat Crack United. There's no way around it until Crack United just became... just entered like Ultra Instinct mode and took over that game. But My Leg Paradise is legit. They won beta bracket last month. They make 4th place here. These guys are legit. They just got to, if they can just consistently qualify for alpha bracket, these guys are going to be monsters going forward. Let's talk about Legato. I put them at number 2 and I said, if the reason is that they just didn't have the same exact roster. Now, the players they brought into this low ink, I thought were good enough for them to be the number 2 team, but I knew they needed a sub, which, just having a sub in general just kind of puts you at a disadvantage just because you don't have as much synergy with that specific player as a team like Crack United does. But Legato's just a really strong team, and I don't care. They lost in round 2 of losers. I don't care. Legato's still a super strong team, and I saw they tweeted out last night that they were moving on to mid-level, that they were like self-banning themselves from lowing. If you just kind of read the tea leaves, like Kupu popped off in a SOS last week or 2 weeks ago, and I think I know some of those players played in Squid Junction and beat Deep Fried Octolings. So you just kind of look at the writing on the wall. Legato was going to play themselves out of low ink already because they're all really strong players, and they're now finally getting the results that prove how strong of players they all really are. Plus, they added a new player to their roster who's banned from low ink, so they probably were just like, we want to play with this player in tournaments. So Legato going forward, next SAC season, Legato is going to be a team to look out for. They're going to be really strong. Would you have liked to see them? I would have loved to see Legato win a low ink before before they left. Because again, they were one of those teams that was 2-4 at one point. In March of last year, they were 2-4, and now they've grown. They won LSL, and they became a team that you rooted for because they've just improved so much. But I mean, like Wipeout Punks, they just didn't have they just didn't have their core players on Sunday for whatever reason in their last tournament, so they just kind of got bounced a little bit early. But it doesn't mean like Legato can become the next Wipeout Punks, a team that goes into SAC and just starts taking care of business. And I'm definitely going to be rooting for them going forward because I can't find a reason not to. Uh, I mean, they played with my wife yesterday, and my wife said they were all cool. So that's anytime you get an endorsement from Miss Popkin, that's a good thing. I think that's everybody I want to talk about here. We've already covered this heavily, and there's not really much more I can say other than maybe somebody who was in the who was a part of that. So let's kind of dive in here and talk to somebody who was a part of this set. Welcome in to the Popcast. Very quickly as I'm throwing this through here, a fan favorite from the pre-show, someone who JPEG really liked, and member of the Shiver Me Feeders team that won Lowing yesterday, Corona Beer. Corona, how is morale?
Nice to be here.
How is morale in the Shiver Me camp?
It's pretty high, honestly speaking. For most of the players here, we're definitely very excited. I know myself in general, I can say that it's a great experience and that we're just we won it, right? So
Yeah, you
yeah.
did. I saw it. It happened. You did win it. Did you need my confirmation for that?
No, no. Really speaking, obviously that last match I was watching it from the spectator and technically speaking the player perspective as being a part of the team, but not playing. And really speaking, I really was, I was really wishing. Obviously, we wanted a clean match first of all. I said beforehand we really didn't want to see Squeak DC at all to the team, and so before we wanted a clean match, but the rules are rules that are set in place, and it just happens sometime, right? But we feel it is a W, so we will take that.
Um, Now you were like subbing in for certain situations. I'm assuming just Manta Maria in general. Is that like your favorite map or something? Or
They were subbing me in for all Rainmaker matches, and
okay,
unfortunately for uh, the matches, we did not see a lot of Rainmaker. The only match being was Rainmaker Manta Maria, and I played. I believe it was against Pickup.
yes,
Or yeah, I played Pickup, and then another game beforehand. It was a Blazing Storm. I think I played a Blazing Storm game off stream, and funny enough, it was also Manta Maria Rainmaker. So yeah, it was. I was only really playing the Rainmaker ones due to how good K Octobrush is on it. And but yeah, we needed paint. That's really the reason why I didn't play there. As you saw, we had a Tri Slasher, and while it paints all right, the Octobrush also paints all right. So you kind of need it doesn't work is what I'm trying to say here is that the Octobrush needs to paint more to counteract certain comps that pick up and Crack United were bringing, right? So
right.
that's kind of why you didn't see me as much during the end there as you would want.
As we would want
And me too, of course.
as the the Corona beer stands that were in the Lowing chat. You were in now. You were chatting during the stream. Were you in the VC as well? Like your team's VC? Like were you listening in?
I was listening, and yes, I was in the VC, and
Okay.
for most of it, I kind of deafened because I wanted to listen to stream. But for some of it, mid in between matches and during some matches, just to while we weren't streamed, I was listening. And so yeah, for that the Cracky United portion, I was mostly muted. But beforehand, like I mentioned, I did say we wanted a clean match, and we really didn't want to see Squeak DC at all. Squeak being the player that the zap on Crack United. We didn't want to see MDC, uh, but in the end, obviously, it did happen. And
Well, can you walk us through like
yeah,
what happened in that game 5 from your team's perspective?
of course, yeah. So beforehand, obviously, I said we didn't want him to see. So during the game here, they're playing, and then on the stream I'm watching, I'm deafened in chat or in the VC. Um, Obviously, the DC happened, so I didn't undeafen until after the game. But obviously, we can see from Battlefield chats, and just the morale and like the vibe in the chat per se. You know, overall, everybody in the team did feel bad. I mean, that's without question. I mean, we obviously wanted to play a fair match. I was a strong advocate of that. We didn't want that. And even in the chats and Battlefield, you know, both teams didn't want it, but understood the rules. I think that's a key thing here. That props to Cracking United because they knew that you know they couldn't get a run back, and so the teams thought on that run back. The gentleman's agreement here is that how I think of it is that if there's a DC and a scrim, I'm all for replaying. If there's a DC, say two DCs, a second one, gentleman's agreement, and our switch round day one, I would be up to a replay, maybe, possibly. But when you're in a game 5 of a grand finals, where if you lose this, you have to go to a reset. In my mind, I just feel like if we lose that gentleman's agreement part and we have to go to a reset, it we aren't going to win that. Let's be honest, because our morale is going to be down. We're going to, the psychological thoughts I think you've mentioned before is that it's just we lost this first set. Oh no, we have to win this one now, and we gave even then, and now we're thinking, oh, we gave these guys, a free redo uh, for something that technically was not in our control. It just doesn't, if we lost that after giving a gentleman's agreement, we feel even worse.
You know, that's a
Just right.
that's a good point I haven't thought of yet. Is that if you guys did do a gentleman agreement and then you ultimately end up losing the tournament, that might have been like another one of those situations where we just say, no, this is a tie because technically Shiver Me won because of the rules, like Twisted Time won because of the rules, but everyone says Red Sun won as well. So yeah, that's a fair point I didn't think of. Is that if you guys gave the replay and then you lost, like people are just going to be arguing today that you guys actually won. You kind of mentioned that the initial, like whenever a team wins a low ink, their initial, like their VC just goes crazy. And it sounds like you guys weren't able to go crazy as soon as you won it because of the circumstances around it. How long did it take to sink in and you guys to start celebrate that you won this tournament?
I think it was a mix of both. So a mix of I feel bad and a mix of we actually won that. So honestly speaking, I would say the that where it sank down that we won was initially it didn't go crazy, but like there was a fact that we did win, right? We knew that technically speaking, we did win this, and so I think until the stream went off is when kind of it kind of fully set through that we did win it. But compared to maybe like Lois or something like last month, I don't think it popped off as much due to the fact that we wanted to see a true grand finals, and the DC kind of was off-putting.
Did
And
you did now people were going on Twitter and saying like don't go after this teams or these players for winning this tournament. Does anybody like send you or any players on your team negative stuff directly like kind of like attack you guys in some way?
personally speaking, I would not know from any of my other teammates because they have not said. So currently speaking, I'd say I don't think they have anything that they've publicly said. Myself, I've not gotten anything negative, which is now thinking about it, it's quite. I don't know what to say about it, but uh, I didn't get anything. I've been told by one of our Lampert, or better known as Adapt, that Coruscant, our sick player, when he said, now that I remember this, when he got he said that he didn't want to play anymore and that he was indeed sick, which we can talk about later. Eh, some people were like, because of only one player, they didn't want to do gentleman's agreement. I think that's what Corosson said. He didn't want to play because he
Hmm.
was sick, and people took it as just him didn't want to do the gentleman's agreement, which I would say is untrue because even myself, who didn't play and who obviously did not want a DC, as I've said many times, uh, knew that we did not want to replay that. It just wasn't probably in our best interest to.
Right, like I kind of mentioned before, why should you guys be nerfed by like making yourselves feel worse because the other team kept DCing? And Crack United, I feel like Crack United's been handling this really well as well. Like they've been like, hey, no, don't be mad at anybody else. And Craig United played really well, like I kind of pointed out there. So to get off of the negative stuff here, could you tell us what, beside from that game 5, what moments do you think is the most memorable for your team that you'll think back on this tournament?
Honestly, there's a lot of moments, and I really think maybe that the first set we had with Kraken United, where we did send them losers, that was a really good one, where both teams back and forth. The teams are just so even. I mean, props to Kraken United. They are a great team. And I do think that while my other teammates obviously could have a different opinion to which was that, I think the first run of the Kraken United was the best, and they did the best. Both teams were of their highest nature there, and no DCs happened. So
That's true.
there you go.
That was on stream, and they also learned that they could beat you guys at Splat Zone's hotel. That's what they
I mean,
learned in that set.
personal opinion. Obviously, I play brushes, so I don't like that.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean
like that map.
I mean that was a smart pick on their play. They could use more. It's almost like longest range kind of wins there, and they were
Hmm.
able to be more natural stuff like that. So this is a combination of literally feeding and Shiver Me Inklings. Could you kind of explain what the future is for those teams? And I know you're on Shiver Me Inklings officially, correct?
Correct.
So
Yep.
what's the future for that team?
So, uh, I think most know, but Shiver Me Feeders after Low Week, it was a pickup of the two teams, and we decided to just go out and call it a day per se. And so now all players are going back to their teams. So Shiver Me Inklings, of course, I'm going back to Shiver Me Inklings along with Miran and Kyle, who played for the team for Shiver Me Feeders. And then on the side of Literally Feeding, who changed to Lunara, they rebranded about a month ago, but we kept the name. Just found it sounded much better. Actually, yesterday just announced, due to the fact that Lunara won and they have a lot of members, they are actually making a sister team, Solaris. So Solaris is going to be the ones who didn't win Low Ink, and then the ones that won Low Ink. Your Adapt, Fishy, Koro. I'm missing one. I'm so sorry. Um, all those people are going to stick with Lunara and going to. I don't know where they're going there. Shogama, yeah. Thank you, Adept. Shogama. I was forgetting one. Are going there. But for Chivalry Inklings, I think we're going to be all members. We have Sumino and Boshin, who did not play with us on Chivalry Feeders, who are currently speaking eligible to still play Lowing. Uh, I've heard talks of maybe them playing a pickup to get banned. Possible. Uh, not much in the works, but it was just something that was said. But Shiver Me Inklings as a whole will be going on, coming back together. I think we're going to take a little break for a bit. I know I need one for at least like a week. And yeah, we'll be playing. I don't know what tournaments we'll play, but we are back. No disbanding. Uh, and we'll go from there. We'll take it step at a time.
Um, are we still going to see you in the Low Ink pre-show? Because that would make
Oh
JPEG very
yes.
happy.
Oh yes, I'll be there. 100%.
Okay, so
We're
here's
Jay.
here, since you're banned, you're not going to give us a perspective of a player. So here's what I want you to do. The next time we bring you in for Low Ink pre-show, I want you to give me your top 5 teams that you think is going to win that Low Ink. I want you. That's the perspective I want you to add to it. Is that fair?
That's cool. Hey, I mean, I'm already ready to go. But yes, I'm ready.
You
I
got.
could give you like,
Hey, you said you needed a week break. You're gonna need a month break off of this one. Trust me. That's a winning Low Ink's an awesome thing, regardless of how it happens. Hey, real quick, one more question. Because this is I think a lot of teams really struggle with this. You guys came out in game one and dominated game one of that grand finals. What did you guys do during your break from winter finals to grand finals?
we didn't, honestly, we didn't do much. I think they went to go play League or something. But obviously, since I was technically I was playing as a sub. Yeah, I don't think we did anything. Not even League. No, nothing. A great practice.
Well, I feel like that's it. I feel like teams that play league just fry themselves out. I feel like teams that just do nothing, watch stream, go out to eat or lunch or something. I feel like those are the teams that come in fresh. So good. I'm glad you guys didn't play league. It showed in that game one. I feel like if you guys played league, you would have been a lot sloppier. But hey, go ahead and plug yourself or the team or anything else you want to say to sign off here.
I'll just give a few. I'll give the Shiver Me Inklings. It's at Shiver Me Inklings. I think it's a one at the end. I'll be honest. And then the Lunara is Lunara underscore SPL. Those are the two teams that played and they won. They came together. And then mine. These are all on Twitter. My on Twitter is just at Corona Beer it's at Corona underscore beer. I got it. I got my own Twitter handle wrong.
You know you're misspelling the word Corona in the
Yeah,
context of
yeah.
beer, and you also know it's like there's like better tasting things than that. You know,
I mean, it's just a name, honestly. Let's put it to that.
Corona beer. Thank you for coming on and giving us the perspective of Shiver Me Feeders. I know when you reached out yesterday, I was like, yes, I want to have you on if it worked out. So
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're able to give us that perspective there, the winner's
Happy
point
to
of
be here.
view of this tournament.
Thank you for having me. Definitely, I had to go for it. I shot. I was like, why not?
Yeah. The worst thing I could do is tell you no, leave me alone,
Yeah.
which is probably what I tell a lot of people in my head without saying it for real. So there you go. That was it was Corona Beer of the Shiver Me Feeders, sub for the team that won yesterday. It came in for a game and was ready to go at any time when Rainmaker was called. I'm glad that we brought them in to get that kind of perspective. Because it's one thing for me to say it from a TO and commentator's perspective, what happened there, but it's better to figure out someone who was involved in that situation. And when they reached out yesterday, I was like, yes, come on in. And I mean, there's been times when I haven't interviewed teams in a while, but there's been times where I talk to teams where it's just like, just give us like, how's it feel to be a low ink champion and things like that. But there's actual questions that you want to know there. And I'm glad that we got their perspective on that and made a great point of like, well, if we gave them the replay and we lost, what would people be saying then? So yeah, it's great takes there by Corona Beer, a fan favorite on the pre-show, and is going to be back with that. With that being said, we are going to wrap up this episode of the Popcast. Enjoy the rest of your President's Day. And if you would like to be a part of the podcast anyway, it doesn't have to be that you want to be on. It could be that you send me information about your team, or maybe I said something about your team and you want to kind of clarify what I say. You know, I see a lot of people take the things I've said on the podcast or in a DM and spread it crazy out of context. If you want me to clarify, and people have done this, like, hey, you said this about my team. Can you clarify what you meant by that? I am more than happy to clarify anything I said, because I don't want you guys to take things I say and run with it as completely out of context and spread it like wildfire to make other people believe something that just flat out is not true. So if you want to reach out to me, Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok at Mr_Popgun. That's the fastest I've ever done that sucker. Who are we going to raid? I don't know who a lot of these players are. Let's just go to Kyo. That's gonna be fine. Raid. Do I need to? There's a lot of upper and lowercase stuff going on here. Hey, get vaccinated. Wear a mask, stay safe, don't die. We'll see you guys next week. We'll talk about SAC and the NA tournament, because something stupid's going to happen in the NA tournament. That is a fact.